men who like high sex drive, the ring finger is longer than the index finger. So next time you find someone, let me check out your hands. And that was researched by the British universities, believe it or not. But anyway, I came across this system back in the 1980s, and I was studying color for clothing with Suzanne Cagle, who is the prima donna of the color industry. She launched it actually in 1943 in Los Altos Hills. And whilst I was there, this man came to have his colors done, and he was a student of this system. And everybody's rushing down and having their faces read. And I thought, oh, this sounds so California-like. I wasn't going to fall for it. Anyway, out of curiosity, I went down and had an assessment, and I felt understood for the first time. And it was amazing because no questions were asked. It's all based on the structure of the face. So our face is the GPS to our inner blueprint. It explains our strengths and our challenges, and we're born with these traits. You can see them at day one, like you can see music, writing, the designer, the architect, the person who's more detailed or wants the bottom line, or the perfectionist. And then by the time the child has passed puberty, all these traits are then fully formed. So it is part of our DNA. Anyway, this system was actually started by a group of men, believe it or not, no women involved. And it started with a judge who, whilst he was in court, he noticed a strong correlation between structure and behavior, and became so intrigued by this that he researched it and developed the system we use today. And it goes across all cultures. Now, oftentimes what comes up, well, Naomi, aren't you being racist or discriminating, or isn't this something to do with ethnicity? And I say, no, it's all to do, we all come from one source. And if you see a certain shaped eye or eyebrow or lips, it doesn't matter what part of the world, it's going to indicate exactly the same personality and exactly the same talents. And it's amazing, and I should warn you all, faces will never look the same again. You're going to find yourself in the grocery store or the bank and you'll begin staring at each other. And I wonder if. And I remember thinking that, and it's very portable, which it really does give you an advantage many times. I remember going on this flight to Australia, and I'm sitting next to this man. And anyway, he got into conversation. He asked me what I did, and I told him. I said, if you like, I can read your face. So my hands were all over him, well, his head. And he's traveling with no entourage of people, and they're sort of looking, what's this woman doing? And they came over and said, are you all right? And they said, oh, yes, I'm fine. Anyway, he gave me his card, and I'm not a highly detailed person, so I just saw his name was Dan. Well, when I got off the plane in Australia, I found he had an entourage of people meeting him. He was the top general of the NASA Space Division, and my hands had been over him. So you see, ladies, you can have a lot of fun with this. But going back to the more serious side, after Jones' research, they were invited to go into the freshman Air Force to see if they could, by using this system, could they determine who would stay the course. And they got a 97% accuracy. They even indicated the type of aircraft they should fly. And I met this man last year who he didn't know I knew about this particular information, and he said, well, his father was part of the study in the freshman Air Force. Wow. So it really did happen. And I went back to San Quentin prison as a visitor it was really curious. I'd heard when Jones had been back there in 1943 taking this information, but it was just to see how we could use this to understand the inmates better. And they said what came across in a couple of hours, this from the psychologist and warden, they said they uncovered information within 2 hours that would take months, years to have uncovered. And when I went back, I certainly saw amongst all the prison guards, with all of them in that room, there was definitely a trait there that they all had in common, and I was quite surprised. And part of it was the trait indicated they weren't as caught up in the suffering of other people. And so you think about their job, it's not a surprise. So anyway, that's some of the background, and I studied this in 1990s and eventually started up my own business and researched this and tested it out and collected the stories on the way. And it's been an amazing journey. And I've been in every major television throughout the world, so on and so forth, lots of magazines. But really what I love to do is to help people get back on track with their lives. And I remember seeing this young man in a wheelchair, about 16, and all I could see was the talent in his face. And I thought, documentary films. And so I said to him, what do you plan to do with your life? He said, no, I don't know really. I said, look, this is what I do. And I think you should get into editing and creating documentary films. And his mother's standing there. She said, I can't believe you're saying that. She said, next week he picks up the top award for the best documentary film in school. Oh. And so what I did was I connected features in the face with the activities that I knew he'd be good at. It is not intuitive. Absolutely not. I will do it by the measuring of the face. And we look at over 91 different traits. So the shape of the eyes, the eyebrows, the texture of the hair, the slope of the forehead, etc. And it indicates how we process information, our innate talents and abilities. And many times I've come across people or young babies, and you can see this day one. And I saw this three-year-old girl, and I said, you're going to be a writer. I said to her mother didn't believe me. 10 years later, her mother calls me. She said, I didn't believe you. I thought she was copying her friend's work. She said she's just being asked to write for the school newspaper. They said she had talent unlike anybody she'd seen. So what I simply do is I validate who you are. That's all it is. So what we're going to do is we'll be using some of you here in the audience. So and relax, I can't read your minds. So. So we're going to look at some of the key features in the time that I have, and normally I do present this with a PowerPoint presentation because it's a graphic. You really need this. So, oh yeah, pointing to you. Okay. Anyway, it looks like I've already got volunteers out there. So the first thing we do is we measure the eyes, and we measure the width of the eye from inner corner to outer corner. Then we measure the space between the eyes, and we look to see, is the eye larger than the space between, or is it smaller? When people have really close-set eyes, these individuals are very good with detail. They notice every little detail. I remember talking to over 200 dentists, and I had 200 beady eyes looking at me. So next time you're in your dentist chair, check out their eyes. Are you sure you're good with details? Now, that's the strength. They're very good with details. Now, the challenge is, as there always is a challenge, is that they worry about things till they're bigger than life itself. You know, when you see some people, it's like, they look at you like that, very intense. And you look at how close our eyes are. Now, I'm not saying when you next meet one of your customers or clients, you take out the ruler and start measuring the eyes. They'll remember you. But it's to do with how detailed they are. And if someone has wide-set eyes, these are much more your multitasker. Oh, I can do this and this and this, and I can do this too. And then they run late because they think they can do one more thing. Don't you? Yes. And so they're a little bit scattered. So, when they're running late for this close-eyed person, and can get very annoyed. But they're more your multitasker. What I forgot to mention is that when parents are structurally very different from each other, and the child inherits those differences, that's what creates the asymmetry in the face. And so you'll find, say one parent is tolerant, the other one isn't. One's critical, one's not. One's competitive, one isn't. Then the child can inherit all those differences. And when there are a lot of differences, this can create mood changes or mood swings. The most I've ever measured is like 26 differences from left to right side of the face. And these people, when they have these mood swings, they can be on cloud 9. They're doing fine, and suddenly they spiral down, and they have these mood changes. And it's the push and pull of the traits. And so often today, these people are being, labeled as ADD and all the rest of it. And it's actually when you work with why we are the way we are, and understand that other people who have these same traits feel just like you do, we can work with it more effectively. And that's what I say to people. If they have certain traits, I say, everybody with this trait feels like you do. They have the same experiences. So this is a reference point. Or I think of the face as a map, in a sense, or a reference point. If you were to go on a long journey from California to New York without a map, and you get all sorts of directions on the way, you do U-turns and so on and so forth, and it may take 10 times as long. But if you've got a map, you've got something to reference from. And that's what the face does. It serves as a reminder as to who you are, and to get in touch with who you are, and to get back on track with your life. So going back to the eyes, so if someone's eyes are very asymmetrical, they can be very tolerant and very tolerant and very tolerant on the wide set eye, and the other one says snap. I'm sure some of you can relate to that. So one of your parents would have been tolerant and the other one less tolerant. And so next time someone snaps at you, just check their eyes out. Yeah, so we have the close set eye. Would you mind sort of coming up? Yes, that would be great. And I wonder who's got the really close set eyes here. There was a lady over here. I'm looking at. Would you like to come up? Yes, please. And the person next to you. Come on. Okay, and the lady who's standing there, would you mind coming up? That's great. Now, of course, I realize that those of you back, it's hard for you to see, so go around and look at everybody's eyes afterwards. Do you mind? Thank you very much. All right, so if you just, oh, yes, you're perfect for this. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. Getting nervous.
Would you two, you both are, yes. And would you go up this end?
Are we twins?
Okay, now look at the energy. Look, don't these two look a little more laid back? It's going to be fine, And you get the feeling that these two are a little more intense. Do it now. Oh, and what your name is?
Ariel.
Ariel, yes. Well, Ariel has these other added features. She has this wonderful nose. Yes. So not only is she detailed, see this pointed nose? She investigates everything and then some. She digs beneath the surface and doesn't leave it alone. And then, if you mind you didn't know you were going to have your nose on display, did you?
I did not, but please. My pride and joy.
And you see how this nose is a little bit straight here, comes straight out at the bottom? Prove it to me, she says. Show me the evidence. Back it up with the information. Am I right? Yes. And would you mind turning that way? Oh, I believe you. See how her nose goes up? So before you invest anything, you check Ariel out. And then there's another feature. We look at the exposed eyelids, and you can see, sorry, your name's?
Julie.
Julie. Julie has very exposed eyelids. I don't know if you can see that, but when you look at her, you can see her whole eyelid, can't you? She wants you to get to the bottom line. If you go on and on with her, she's going to cut you off, interrupt you. But interestingly enough, she's got these full lips, so she can talk, but she wants you to get to the bottom line. Yes. Yeah. Yes, but it's a good trait to have. So very.
Get to the bottom.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay, sit down. Yes, but you can see it's interesting. You never thought you hadn't looked at a face this way. We see thousands of faces over our time. What this does is it connects the dots. It recognizes the patterns, and that's why I call this face pattern recognition, because it does just that. So yes, and you can relate to the detailed, and oh, we're perfectionists too, huh? So the outer corner of her eye is lower than the inner corner. That's how we can tell perfection. So anytime the outer corner of the eye is lower than the inner corner, these people see every little mistake and then some. No, what do you do?
I'm a chiropractic student.
Perfect.
Need that spine nice.
But listen to your patients. Don't cut them off, will you? No. No. But you know, when you're hiring somebody or going to get somebody's services, this is great because it gives you some more information about them. And if they have their photograph on the internet, you can go to the internet and check them out. Okay, let's. And yes, you can relate to both being very more laid back. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, very relaxed. Yes. And you're liking this stage, aren't you?
I'm comfortable.
You're comfortable, I thought so. Okay, let's give them applause. Thank you very much. Please go and sit down. Thank you very much. So slightly introduce a few other traits, but I thought it'd be interesting as we have them up there. So that's the close and the wide set eyes. And then we talked a little bit about the exposed eyelids. Hillary Clinton has more exposed eyelids. And people with the exposed eyelids want you to get to the bottom line. If you go on and on, they're either stop listening to you, or they're going to cut you off, or interrupt you, finish off your sentence for you. Come on, let's go. And if you're too slow, it's going to drive them crazy. So they have to remember there's cart horses and race horses in this world, and you have to, go accordingly. And when the eyelid is completely covered, these people will ask you question after question after question after question, and when we think we've answered all your questions, you've got 1,000 more for me. Then she'll cut you off. So yes, we are born with these traits. And if you go to the emergency units as a guest in the hospital, you find a lot of your nurses and doctors have exposed eyelids. Come on, let's go. Or your psychologists, a lot of them have the exposed eyelids. They laser in on the issues. I remember being in San Francisco waiting for the bus shuttle, and I saw this young lady next to me, and I thought, I bet she's a psychologist. So I said, what do you do? Oh, I'm a psychologist, student of psychology. And I said, also see your traits is some of the top female gymnasts. Oh, well, that's who I was. And those of you who watch the Olympics, look to see how many volley players had the exposed eyelids. Yeah. And also the gymnasts, female gymnasts, a lot of them had exposed eyelids. Now I'd like to put one more trait, and how we're doing for time, how much 2 minutes? Okay.
3 hours.
Well, as I say, there's 91 traits, and it's covered so much in just such a short time. But let's combine a trait with the close-set eyes. When you see people with close-set eyes and cupped-out ears, like Obama has the cupped-out ears, his eyes are wide-set. But the cupped-out ears and close-set eyes, these are your controllers. They want to control everything. And now where do we see that trait cluster in sports? Petaluma Little Leaguers, who just came in 3rd place. Look at all those boys. Close-set eyes, cupped-out ears. Good at controlling the ball. Makes sense, isn't it? And they like to control people.
That's Prince Charles.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah, control. And it's fascinating to see that. And then another trait, let's quickly go to this other trait. People with narrow faces gain their confidence through knowledge. Once they know what they're doing, they're off and running. Put them in a new situation, there's a lot of fear. You can relate to this trait. It's like, yes, well, the two of you. Yes, it's like, whereas, you'll make it up as you go. So when you're meeting with your closer eye client or patient, be there to support them. Because if they have closer eyes and a narrow face, they focus on the fear till it's bigger than life itself. And they're the worriers. Get them to relax and step back and just say, look, I realize this is new for you. but I'm here to support you. I'm going to put you through the program, and I'll explain each step of the way. Would that work for you? Takes out some of the fear, doesn't it? Yeah, you know what's going to happen. You become familiar. I mean, look at Mitt Romney. He has the narrow face, and there's certainly a lot of uncertainty in his movements and what he was saying. He's got a lot better over the months they've been debating. And the wide-faced person, they just take a weekend course and go out and practice it the next week. Whereas a narrow-faced person, they take class after class after class after class. And even then, they think they should take another class.
Because you're selling classes only for the narrow faces.
So that's just a few of the traits, and I am offering a 3-minute profile with my book out there on the table. But you know, this is a great tool. There's been so much research behind this, and it really works. It's about making a difference, and my passion is about making a difference in this world, helping students find their path in life. 67% leave school not knowing what to do. People are out of work, and they've always done one job. What else do? I don't know. I can look at them like I did this teacher, and I said, he said he was out of work. I said, you should be an editor. Well, his mother was an editor. Didn't know that. And I gave him some other ideas, and he takes my hands, and I'm going out to the post office. He said, you have changed my life. Thank you. So even if you know one little thing, it's going to trickle over, and it's going to make a huge difference in your life and the people you meet with. So it's not judging, it comes from understanding. So if someone snaps at you or criticizes you, just look on the eyes. And it helps you to understand the why. And if you are critical, if your outer corners of the eyes are low and the inner corners, praise people first for what they've done. Then say, there's a couple of things you might change, but keep up the good work. Because criticism is one of the big issues in relationships today. Nothing's ever good enough. And I remember this man who sent me his photograph from New York. He was a taxi cab driver. Both his outer corner of his eyes were lower than the inner corners. And I said, what was it like growing up with your parents? He said, I don't want to go there. It was too painful. I noticed his ears, the outer edge of the ear was completely rounded. I knew he was musical. I said, you should take up your musical instrument. Oh, that's interesting. He emailed back. He said, I was at the Los Angeles School of Music, got so criticized, dropped out. And he's been working with a psychologist for quite a long time. And I'm sure she's helped him, but it hadn't got him that far. And I said, you know, take up your music again, go and join a group. And he did just that. And he said, I've even bought some rollerblades to skate in Central Park. So that is what the work is about. It's about helping people. I work with large corporations all over the world, well, certainly in the United States, of all various, and it just applies everywhere we go. And it's a wonderful tool that you can carry with you. And so learn one trait at a time, observe, and you will be amazed. So thank you again.